COVID 19 brought the pharmaceutical supply chain in the limelight, and ensuring timely and safe transport of medicines and medical equipment was no less than a high speed car chase. The pharmaceutical industry rapidly transformed itself under the immense pressure of developing a vaccine for the pandemic and emerged victorious by establishing greater agility and resilience during periods of uncertainty. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachayata, and on this beautiful winter evening, we at Logistics Insider welcome you to another session of LinkedIn Live. This time, the live is themed Navigating Complexities of Modern Pharma Supply Chains. Moving from the flashback to the present time, expectations regarding supply chain efficiency have increased multifold, which means that the industry must eliminate typical supply chain roadblocks to the maximum extent. The pharma supply chain looks much different than its conventional perception. In fact, it is now a modern value chain network which is digitally connected with end to end access and visibility. During today's session, you will be witnessing insightful conversations between our experts, which will revolve around challenges in today's pharma supply chains and the ways to evade them, manifesting cargo friendly airports for efficient handling of pharma shipments, how digitization and emerging technologies are reshaping pharma logistics, trends around temperature management during transit and storage, and the power of standardization and compliance. Today's show is powered by Gina and Company, a logistics company more than 120 years old, which also deals in pharma supply chain and time and temperature sensitive deliveries. Gina was appointed as an authorized logistics service provider by the ICMR to distribute COVID supplies and also given the national mandate to distribute the Covishield vaccine to private hospitals pan India. The company is also known for being a crucial part of India's export chain, enabling healthcare in various countries. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing our speakers talk, and I suppose you are too. So let's welcome them, starting with our moderator, Mr. Prakash Singh, Vice President, Pharma and Life Sciences Logistics, Gina and Company. Prakash has more than 15 years of experience in international and domestic shipping and healthcare business developments, focusing on exim activity. He is passionate about healthcare and patient safety and cold chain management to maintain product integrity during transit. Welcome to the show, sir. Next up, we have Mr. Ugrasen Singh, Associate Director, Lead Import Export and Logistics Procurement, CIPLA. Ugrasen has more than 24 years of experience in international business, focusing on logistics procurement and EXIM. Was majorly involved in customs house agents, maritime industries for electronics and electricals, and the pharmaceuticals industry, which offered him an immense exposure of product life cycle, industry specific methodologies, and understanding business processes in ERP based environments. Welcome to the show. Next, we have Mr. Bhupendra Kumar, Head of Logistics, IOL Chemicals and Pharma, offering 15 years of rich expertise in supply chain management and shipping line operations. Bhupendra's core strengths lie in excellent trade operations, global freight forwarding, international and domestic logistics, and vendor management, among others. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Next, you're welcome. Next, we have Mr. Imtiaz Naik, Deputy General Manager Logistics, Dr. Lal Path Labs. With a rich experience in healthcare industry logistics and distribution, Imtiaz retains specialization in dealing with biological specimen, reverse cold chain logistics, and exim. He has been leading a workforce engaged in biological specimen movement, maintenance of turnaround time across client and lab network, and digitization to support process excellence. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, everyone.
Last but not the least, we have Mr. Ramesh Mamidala, Chief Cargo Officer, Adani Airports Holdings Limited. Ramesh brings with him more than 26 years of experience in the field of logistics business management, logistics commercial product management, air freight global, and hub operations, logistics infrastructure development, and IT skills with strong project management competencies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rachita.
I welcome you all to the show once again, and not delaying the show any further, I now hand over the reins to Prakash. Over to you.
So, good afternoon to all our viewers, and I would like to thank Rachita for your wonderful introduction. I'm thankful to our esteemed panelists for being part of this interactive session today, and it's absolute pleasure while moderating this session along with my expert fellow panelists, and I'm sure with the size of experience and domain knowledge they are having will bring the great insight to the table for our viewers. So with that, today we have the topic of our discussion today is the navigating complexities of the modern pharma supply chain. So when we talk about the pharma supply chain, pharma supply chain has never got the so much attention and importance in global supply chain network as whole before COVID-19. When the COVID-19 situation started, there has been restriction everywhere, lockdowns were imposed, international borders were closed, airlines were not allowed to fly, and then it has become absolute difficult to move the essential commodities like medicines, vaccines, testing laboratories, some medical devices like oxygen concentrators, ventilators, hospital beds, and there were hue and cry across the globe due to shortage of these essential, commodities, medicines, and all. Therefore, being essential commodity, it has to be, shipping should be continue. Therefore, all these stakeholders, be it government, cargo handlers, airport authorities, and freight forwarders, even manufacturers and suppliers, regulatory bodies have come together and created an infrastructure to ensure that the continuity of medicines and vaccines and testing laboratories are there, so the needy patient across the globe get the treatment on time. And because of this, I can say proudly today that because of these consolidated efforts from every stakeholders, we are able to sail through these difficult time during this pandemic. And at the same time, I want to highlight that this everybody has realized the importance of having the robust pharma supply chain in place, because during this last 2 years, it has exposed so many loopholes in entire pharma supply chain, be it the existing process of pharma supply chain at suppliers or pharma manufacturers, cargo, the airport infrastructures, cold chain management, lack of cold chain resources and infrastructure, delays in customs and regulatory, lengthy process of regulatory approvals, road transport issues, and there were so many airlines capacities and services, and even the capabilities of the freight forwarders also. So, having said that, it becomes now imperative that we should continue whatever good work as a collectively we all of us have done should be continue for the future, and we have ensure that we address all these loopholes that has been come to our way during COVID-19 situation, so we can handle the pharma or healthcare cargo in a better way. With that background, I would like to start discussing with my fellow panelists and to understand their views and ideas about the same, that how the modern to understand about the modern supply chain, how it has evolved, what are the complexities that still exist into the entire pharma supply chain, and how we can evade them. So with that, I would like to straight away go to our first speaker, Mr. Ogershen Singh. So, Ugrisen, I just would like to get what are your views about the modern pharma supply chain? How you see that, how it has transformed in last 10 or 20 years, and how it has evolved over the years. So, over to you, Ugrisen.
Prakash, thank you so very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with the industry leader. So I always see supply chain in two parts. One is the physical flow, and another is the information flow. And both are the important pillar of any supply chain. The good thing, if you see the information flow, industry is doing fantastic in terms of AI, blockchain, various kind of software, and all those kind of data logger, real time tracking of your consignment, tracking of your temperature, geofencing. Any given point of time while I'm sitting on my desk, I can track and trace my consignment. That kind of technology is available in terms of tracking of the consignment. In terms of ERP, if I want to give you example, today if any PO is getting punched in my ERP system, within fraction of second, my supplier of that good is able to know that supplier has punched the PO. So information is going so quick and entire supply chain is getting updated. Information will go to my supplier, it will go to my logistic partner, it will go to my inbound and distribution team. So entire supply chain team is aligned once a PO gets raised in system. If you see in past, everything is on email or through phone communication passing from one partner to another partner. Sometimes information gets, sometimes information get passed. So these are what modern supply chain is giving. I wanted to share you a small example what initiative we took. We initiated ASN in our system. ASN stands for Advanced Shipment Notification. Once my supplier is ready with the supply and the document, he will go and punch the data in system, and that data contains my shipping instruction, product detail, batch size, batch quantity, number of batch, everything. And that information flows in entire ERP. It will come to procurement, logistics, distribution, and the same data is used by my store to punch the GRN. It helps getting the information on time. Number two, accuracy of data. Number three, saving on time. So these kind of initiatives really helping supply chain, global supply chain to quick, safe, and reliable data exchange, which helping every partner, whether it is internal, external, in the supply chain. The pain area remain is physical queue. I still not seeing much, though entire globe is watching India, and every logistic provider, be it airlines, shipping company, airport, cold chain logistic provider, everybody is targeting India. I go in lots of uh, trade, logistic trade meetings, seminars, and I'm seeing, I'm watching. Everybody is talking India. Everybody is talking pharma logistics. But on ground, reality is bad. I sorry to say this, pardon me, but really reality is bad. The way consignments are getting handled at tarmac, consignments are getting handled at airports with the custodian at the various transit points, transit hubs, which is very sad. Prakashji, as you know, pharma is the compliant, process, GDP compliant. We have very stringent norms, and we manufacture goods in a very precise manner. Complying with all safety, security, every norm. But moment my consignment is out for delivery, my heartbeats are high. I don't know what will happen to my consignment. The guy is handling the consignment, he doesn't understand or doesn't differentiate between a pharma parcel or electronic or electrical or tool parcel, which is really painful for companies like me. But I really, hopeful the way every partner in supply chain are getting collaborated. People are ready to understand pharma. I'm seeing, the airports, the freight forwarders, the warehouse partner, airlines, they are taking that initiative to understand the pharma logistics, and hopefully if things go good. I see, lots of good things in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Grishenji. I think you will very well explained about the topic, and you touch upon the latest development in terms of what are the development in terms of technology, traceability, packaging systems available, data logger, and all. But at the same time, so, the still the industry is facing a lot more issue, and as a a manufacturer and supplier, you are still having the concern when your cargo moves out from your facility, be it at tarmac or handling at airports and manual DOs, and there are still a way to go in terms of addressing those complexities into the system. I'm sure as a collective, as an industry efforts, if we put our efforts towards these to mitigate the gaps. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a very small experience. One of my export consignment, having temperature 15 to 25, with all kind of declaration. At the transit hub, handler has placed my pallet exactly behind the engine.
Hmm.
Yes.
So this is the knowledge where I am insisting all the logistic partners, everybody in trade, to understand the farmer. Thank you. This is just
I'm
a
sure.
Great answer.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm sure when we go to Mr. Ramesh, he will definitely guide us and give his input on the same as how we can navigate such issues. And this is something related to the skilled manpower as well. Training our colleagues at airport, creating the infrastructure, and organizing more trainings. So thank you so very much, Sanji, for highlighting these information. Moving on I would like to touch upon the another aspect of our pharma supply chain is the API and bulk drug, which plays a major role in terms of manufacturing the finished goods. And the Indian pharmaceutical manufacturers majorly are dependent for API and bulk drug to the foreign country, and I would say 60-70% dependency only on China. So, during COVID-19, this supplies of bulk drug got really disrupted, and it was a nightmare for Indian pharmaceutical companies to keep up their operation flow. So I just would like to go to Mr. Bhupender since he's representing one of India's largest API manufacturing company, IOL Chemical and Pharmaceutical. So I want to understand, Mr. Bhupendra, that how you see that COVID-19 has disrupted the API bulk supplies in India, and how it has impacted to the Indian pharma companies. And at the same time, what are the lessons that the nation will learn from this, so that our viewers can get benefited and can implement those practices in day-to-day operations. So over to you, Mr. Bhupendra.
Thank you, Prakash, and good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to Logistic Insider and Gina and company for organizing this event and putting me in such a colorful panel where we have two guys from the logistic industry who can provide good solutions. Like Prasenji was sharing some of the problem, and I believe that Mr. Imtiaz is also facing the such kind of problem in day-to-day operations. And yes, as far as pandemic is concerned, yes, this is true that due to the rapid growth of coronavirus, lockdown and quarantine was the government initiatives in order to control the spread of the same. And therefore, I believe that we have appreciated these initiatives, and these initiatives has created an unpredictable effect on both the parts, on humanitarian grounds, humans' daily lives, as well as on global economy. Along with that, the global pandemic has affected the health, and the decision making of the people has also changed. Now, the decision making of the people has also changed due to this. And I personally believe that there are three factors. different ways to look at the situation, because this has affected every industry in different manners. But these three common factors are definitely there. They have affected the demand of the product and services. They have affected the price and affected the disruption in supply chain. All these three factors came into the pictures, and this has affected everything during the pandemic. As we remember, that the demand of various API intermediates, products, and raw material KSM has increased during the pandemic situation of the COVID. Due to the increase in mood breathing disorder and other difficulties everybody was facing during those days, and people have started investing more into the healthcare. As Prakash was sharing, yes, this is true that India and China are considered as one of the countries dealing with the highest share in the field of APIs as well as their intermediates. As there were lockdown, different policies, all borders were closed, ports were shut, and there was a huge pricing impact, as APIs, ingredients, and their intermediates were not at all available adequately. Our Indian government has also put a lot of restrictions while getting import into the India. There were scanning of the Chinese products. There were a lot of delays in getting the shipments from ports. It was that ports were huge, highly congested. So, due to some factors such as disruption in supply chain, the cost of APIs and their intermediates have increased even up to 40 to 50% in India, especially for the medicines such as if you will see the pharmaceutical, paracetamol prices has gone up 50% or more above. Penicillin were very high. Anti-asthmatic drugs rates were gone very high. So as there was a risk in supply chain during COVID-19 and there was a delay in supply chain, both have impacted a lot the humanitarian ground as well as economic ground. If you talk about the air shipments, those were decreased because flights were not allowed to run the show. The price of shipments were increased by three times, which impacted the price of higher side of the APIs and their intermediates. At shipment charges like air freight, which was supposed to be $2, $3, $4 from $2 from Shanghai, which has gone to the $15 $18 $25. So this was the situation we have faced during those challenging times. And as far as API and especially chemical is concerned, both were affected as we are talking. India is, I believe, is having the 42 billion US dollar pharmaceutical sector. As Prakash has rightly said, that we are heavily dependent. It is not 50 or 60%, Prakash. I believe it is 90% on the certain drugs. Ugrasenji must be agree with me, because 90% of some of the main ingredients, we call them as a key starting material or the active pharma ingredients, are coming from China. So there's an increase in the demand for API intermediates which are used for manufacturing of finished goods. But I feel that in second wave or some, the fear of COVID-19 infection is major factor. It was more the fear. So that has affected the demand of product, and that demand is the major factor of the increase in the prices. We have noticed that some of our customers in Europe and US has taken the advanced material. So their stock levels got very high, because it was a fear ki whether we will get the shipment or not, whether the supply will be there on time or not, because shipping was totally disrupted. Airlines were not accepting the goods. And just to conclude this, I would like to submit that the highly disruption in supply chain, whether it was non-availability of the intermediates, specialty chemical, KSM, port entries were closed by the government, quarantine of the vessels, shipment coming from China were thoroughly checked, which was taking 7, 7, 10 days, 15 days. Drivers stuck on road, labor was not available, has ultimately impacted the manufacturing companies, which has resulted in the lower availability and increase of the cost of the material, and that is required in the production of the finished goods. So that's my current take on the problems which manufacturing industry has faced in terms of APIs and specialty chemicals.
Thank you, Bhupendraji, for highlighting these pain areas and disruption in operation. And the second part is the price escalation from both the way. The first one is the suppliers, has increased the price of their product of APIs in bulk, as you mentioned. Second is the shipping cost. That airlines and shipping line has increased the freight charges because of these lot more restrictions. That has again, increased the overall in-house production cost for the pharmaceutical companies. And that time, at the same time, there was a lot more pressure from the government also, not to increase the price and help the patient. So this was really an difficult task, but I would say thanks to all our pharma manufacturer company who has really worked hard during this COVID-19 and supported not only nation but across the globe to maintain the supply to some extent. So credit goes to our all the stakeholders in the entire value chain. So thank you so much, Bhupendraji, for enlightening on this particular topic. Now, I would like to touch upon the another important aspect in pharma supply chain, that is the air cargo. So the I want to understand. I just would like to go directly to Mr. Ramesh. To understand that how what role air cargo plays in terms of pharmaceutical supply chain, how we can create more India as a most favored, or I would say friendly nation for air freight of supply pharma supply chain. And also at the same time, if you can also update our viewers in terms of how India can make, what are the initiatives that you are taking, and how we can make India as a how we can create the cargo friendly airports in India, which will further help to the pharma cargo ship more and more through the air. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prakash. I think before I begin to say anything, let me thank both Logistics Insider and Gina to have organized such a very interesting discussion today. And I found the conversation very interesting listening to both Ugrasen and Bhupendra, because we don't usually get those opportunities to get those views from the customers from the other side. And from the air cargo point of view, in fact, I was very interestingly listening to what Ugrasen had to say about the challenges that he has been facing with the airports. While that is true, uh, in terms of ideal infrastructure, operations, processes, and technology, I'm not talking about my airport, I'm talking about country, especially those airports where the pharma shipments are kind of dominant volume contributors to those airports, not really naming those airports. Are we there yet? We are not there yet. We have a long way to go for sure, because the airport infrastructure development usually takes very long time, because you need to invest a lot of money. It does need a lot of justification for the promoters or companies that run the airports to be convinced that they should invest that money to develop the airports. It's a long, time consuming process of getting it designed, getting it approved, and getting it invested in the airports. Having said that, I've been in the Indian air cargo industry for the last 10 years, running some of the large airports for the last 10 years or so. Before that, I spent 1.5 decades working in the Middle East, working with the largest airline in the world today, working in Dubai at the hub. If I go back to that timeline, let's say if I take you back like 20 years before the current time, even that major hub, which is very, very successful today, and the large airline in the world, they were going through the same learning experience. Pharma as a product did not exist. Cool chain did not exist in that airport. And that airport had very, very high temperature handling conditions, both on the ramp and also inside the warehouse. Sometimes the tarmac, which Ugrasen referred to, the tarmac temperature went up to even 60 degrees, because I used to be on the ramp measuring the temperature because we were trying to design some products. I was responsible for the product development. And pharma chain or cool chain development was one of the responsibilities that I managed at the time. Now, it was realized at the time that as an airline, when you accept a shipment, you take responsibility. Not only the hub obviously is very important. If you mishandle, you're directly responsible. But as an airline, you're responsible for origin via transit to the destination. You're responsible for the end-to-end solution that you give to the customers. I think that culture wasn't very dominant at the time. In fact, there was no interaction between the airlines or airports with the pharma manufacturing companies. So some trends started possibly 20 years ago. And a couple of things that airport did went extremely well. And those were kind of copied and pasted in many other hubs today in the Middle East or in Indian subcontinent, or some of the Far East airports as well. Some of the Indian airports also have successfully implemented. So these included, I'm taking these examples to tell you what should be done and what some airports have already done successfully and what is ahead of us. One is the airport intentionally went through a lot of audits, self audits conducted by the manufacturing companies because we had to gather feedback. So we invited companies to come and audit the airport. So in the process, we did, the airport invested a lot of money. There was state of the art cool chain facility that was rolled out, but we didn't know what to do beyond that. So that had to be told to us by the manufacturing companies. Some very large manufacturing companies came and audited to give us feedback. No, we didn't have many things in place. Somebody talked about training. We did not have dedicated staff. We were cross-utilizing them. So even if a couple of them that were dedicated for the facility, they were not trained for pharma handling. There was absolutely no awareness at all in the company. And the simple thing, which is not taken for granted, is the integrity of the cold chain or the cold chain from the terminal to the aircraft. There was nothing like that. So it was put on a dolly like any other shipment. Ugrasen, you talked about shipments on the wrap left on the tarmac for whatever, a few hours or a few days, and there was no such concept at all. And there was no quick transshipment at the hub, which is very important for a product of this nature, to be connected sometimes tail to tail because you need to handle product that way, or even do the connections at least 6 to 8 hours time. Inside the warehouse, the airline had what was mixing perishables with the pharma. There was no dedicated pharma related storage or processing. So there were many, and the documentation related to that, and also capturing the temperature requirements that need to be followed very strictly, both on the tarmac and also inside the warehouse, need to be captured in the system, and the system to have the intelligence to raise problems to tell in advance if something is going wrong. No, those kind of techniques were not there, but they were all implemented very quickly, and that hub became very popular. The airline became very popular. Now, coming back to India's story, I think the last 10 years, taking some of these learnings from the major hubs around us, and also some experts that have started working with us in the country, some good developments have happened in some airports. At least I see 4 or 5 major hubs that are dominant in the pharma industry for the pharma air cargo exports. Those airports at least now have dedicated pharma logistics centers. And they have the capability to manage 228, 15 to 25, sub-zero, those kind of temperature zones. To me, is a major development because people have invested. The facilities are there running very well. Some of the airports have even implemented the cool dolly kind of a concept to maintain the integrity of the cold chain from the terminal to the aircraft. They have been implemented. And some of them have invested in temperature to actively probe the temperature of the shipments at a storage level, even sometimes talking to the probes inside the shipment to get active information or send active information. Some of them have actually made it public. They actually show you the information as to at what temperature the shipment is stored inside the warehouse. All of them have not been implemented across all the airports. Some of them have implemented some are in the process of implementing, many of them, over a period of time. But what is appealing to me coming from this industry as a service provider, talking to you, everybody realizes, most of the airports, most of the major hubs in the country realize pharma exports as a very, very important product. You've thrown some numbers at us, $42 billion or something like that, but we all believe it is a major product. And increasingly, many of the pharma companies for their exports, especially to Europe and North America, to some extent South America, will continue to increase their volumes through air cargo. So we all believe, from the air cargo fraternity, the airlines as well as the airports, including the cargo terminal operators, we all believe that it has major potential. It is a very, very specialized subject, and it needs attention. It needs major investment. So if you go and actually look at some of the master plans that the airports have done for the next 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, you find that most of these airports, whichever airport is relevant for the air cargo or pharma, they all have decided to expand the capacity. They all have decided to expand the IT capability. They also have decided to run this operation differently by having dedicated people, well-trained people, and they're all going for the certification. Certifications do add value. They put pressure on you because you need to also keep renewing a certification, whether it is from IATA, CAE, IV, or GDP, whatever. They all add value. So maybe more certifications will come. But very importantly, these airports are also open for the pharma companies to come and audit them. Because when I was sitting in Delhi running that operation, I had a few companies coming and auditing and giving very, very important feedback from their point of view. So people are open now. They're opening the doors, inviting people like the pharma freight forwarding companies, other manufacturing companies to come and audit, give feedback with an open mindset to improve the operations. So to me, the time ahead of us is very interesting because people have realized the importance of pharma because it plays a very important role from their top line, bottom line point of view. Number two, many of these airports also believe that that is their contribution in terms of growing exports for the country. This is their contribution to the growth of the country. So that realization is very, very strong. I think what needs to improve, apart from whatever they have tried to do, we've done similar related work in our airports. You will possibly start seeing some very, very serious developments in some major airports that are run by us in the next 2 or 3 years' time, including Ahmedabad, where pharma exports is a very, very dominant commodity that we have. So there is a new terminal wherein you will find a dedicated pharma logistics center, which currently does not exist in the airport. That is going to go live possibly September, October time period. If we did not believe there is a important product, we would not have invested so much money, and we would not have had a dedicated zone, almost 2,000, 3,000 square meters, which is enough for the next 10 years in a market like this. We're investing money in supplementing our IT capability. The cool dollies will also be rolled out in this airport, like we are doing. Every other airport is also doing. To me, I think there is a great realization, just to sum up, and people are aware of it. People know the importance of it, both commercially as a moral responsibility to the growth of exports in the country. And you will definitely see a lot more coming in our way in terms of better air cargo handling capability, both from the airline side as well as the airport handling side. But I think what adds value is these kind of interactions. We don't have too many of them. We possibly have very few, seldom interactions with the trade, where I want the trade to come and actually give very, very candid, open feedback about what we don't have and what we should be doing. I think if that happens frequently, maybe 3, 4 times in a year, we collectively as an industry trade community, we will be able to build a very, very solid infrastructure in place to help all of us grow these exports. Back to you, Prakash.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rameshji. It was indeed very informative, I would say. And two things that I would like to re-highlight that you have touched upon, which are the first one is that you updated what are the real challenges that the freight forwarder or the pharma manufacturers are facing at airports. And another important aspects are that you have mentioned that the missing link between airline, airport, freight forwarder, and the manufacturer or suppliers. So there was no direct communication with the airport. I would say, based on my experience, I can tell that airport plays a major role. Even these airlines who accept the cargo or with the confirmation on their master bill, they can only accept if there is a good facility of storage and handling at airports, whether it is origin or transit or a destination. So definitely, the pharma freight forwarders and the pharma companies and airlines and airport handlers has to come together, have more dialogue to address these issues. So this is the welcome suggestion, sir, and I'm sure our viewers will take the note of it and definitely will work toward this. Another aspect, sir, you mentioned that the new hubs are coming already in place in, I would say, fantastic facility in Bangalore, which is attracting the cargo even from the other part of the southern region, whether Vizag or Hyderabad, Chennai, and these even certain cargo going from Goa to Bangalore also. So this is because of the airport has created the infrastructure and the capacities that has been created at Bangalore airport. I see the similar approach happening at Mumbai and Delhi also. I think we should be. This is my personal. Hyderabad is one of the the great airports are now building the capacity. So we should have the more and more like our airports like Ahmedabad and all. Ahmedabad being a pharma hub should also come to that level of increasing the infrastructure and more connectivities from the Ahmedabad, because the Ahmedabad shipper has to move their cargo to Delhi, Mumbai, or some other places. So I think with that, I see the great future and bright future for the airport infrastructures in India. So thank you so much, sir, for highlighting these things. With that, I would like to move our next speaker. Here, I would like to draw our viewers' attention that nowadays we hear a lot more about online deliveries. Sitting at home, you can order. You can place your order by using app, mobile. You can order your foods. You can get your clothes. You can do online shopping. You can get within 5-10 minutes any grocery as well home. Similar trend that we currently now we see into pharma supply chain, also into the healthcare industry, also be it the diagnostic, the collection boys coming at home and carrying the samples. And sometimes I heard that some of the radiology services are also now becoming available at home. Telemedicines, everything. I mean, it's an era which we can feel it's a home healthcare, healthcare at your home. So I would like to go to our expert, Mr. Imtiaz, as he mainly deal with directly with the end users, like patient and the franchisee system. So, Mr. Imtiaz, can you give us some thoughts, or what are your views about patient-centric supply chain, pharma supply chain in healthcare system, how it is evolving now, and what future do you see? Over to you, Imtiaz.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you for giving an opportunity to be part of these elite speakers and express my views on this modern pharma supply chain. As you mentioned about the patient-centric supply chain, so I would say that patient today, the customer today, is the centric point of the complete pharma supply chain. The entire logistics has been designed considering the patient at a center place. While I talk about more from the diagnostics perspective, let me tell you, prior to COVID, okay, people were very eager to come to the centers and give their blood. But the shift has changed. Patient has become more demanding. They want someone to come to their place in their own home environment, comfortable environment, want someone to collect the blood and take the blood to the processing laboratory. That's patient centric. Customers don't want to go to different medical stores seeking whether the inventory of that particular medicine is available or not. Now, everything, the technology in logistics has become so evolved that a person just has to upload his prescription and the medicines arrive at his place within a shortest span of time. He doesn't have to go to various different stores. In one platform, he gets everything. The diagnostics, the radiology sectors are available at home. The telemedicine centers, nursings, and many other diagnostics facility, hospital facilities are available, take considering the patient as the center point. And I'm sure this is going to evolve more. This is going to evolve more. I have heard an article wherein there would be the mobile diagnostic centers. There was a point where there were mobile blood collection of blood used to happen only at a particular place. Now we have mobile blood banks. There would be a time wherein there would be mobile diagnostic centers wherein the complete setup would go to a unit, collect the blood, process the samples, give the reports online. So you see the modern pharma supply chain is actually moving towards the patient centric. And at the same time, we also have to see that while we are being patient centric, we are not compromising on quality. The medicine which is coming from the dark warehouses to the patient place is coming in required temperature. The storage in the dark facility, dark source facilities are in the proper temperature with a visibility to the patient of the storage of the medicines. The, the sample flow from residence to the processing unit is through a proper supply chain, proper hygiene, proper cold chain is maintained. So yes, the modern supply chain is patient centric, and in coming years it is going to be more demanding. So we as logistics expert, we as logistics people here have to gear up and prepare ourselves for more evolving and demanding patient centric supply chain. That's it, Prakash, from my end.
Thank you, Imtiazi. I think we, as you rightly mentioned, that we as a logistic expert has to reinvent our wheel towards this new development happening of this patient-centric supply chain, and I'm sure it is going to benefit to the patient for sure. So, as a a supply chain partner, whether it is a logistic service provider or the even the manufacturer of pharmaceutical, they also have to think about redesign their overall supply chain in coming time, whether because as of now we are directly supplying to our distributors, and then it's patient is coming directly to the pharmacies or big setups, but now they are ordering even medicines and these testing lab tests, biological tests and everything online. So definitely this is a welcome move, I would say, but we have to align our services, resources, trainings, and everything. Need to create the infrastructure to support this new trend. Thank you, Imtiazi, for highlighting it very beautifully. Now, quickly, I would like to go to once again back to Mr. Ugrasen. So, Ugrasenji, there is a development, mandate from the Ministry of Health. Can you hear me, Ugrasenji? Your video seems freeze.
Mr. Prakash, please go ahead.
So recently, you must have come across that the Ministry of Health has mandate to affix the barcode labels on medicine packaging. This is mainly because to ensure the authenticity and traceability of the medicine and to avoid the duplication of the medicines and curb the spurious medicines out of sales. So, there are discussions are going on. Pharma companies are approaching to the regulatory authorities, and both ways the discussion is going on. So, I would like to understand you being representing one of the India's most reputed pharmaceutical company, Cipla. So, definitely your views would definitely be guiding factor for our viewers. So, we would like to hear from you. What are your views on this particular topic, sir? Over to you, Ugrasenji.
Prakash, thank you for asking this question to me. This is the hot topic being discussed everywhere. Just one correction. The government has given us good enough of time to implement this. I think this gadget has came, 6 months back, wherein government has asked to, fix the QR code.
Right, sir.
Specifically on API, specifically on the alt, API, whether it is imported, export, or domestic. I was lucky to attend a seminar which was organized by the DCGI week before, wherein all the uh, the Pharma Excel and other association of pharma has participated, and we also got opportunity to participate in the call. And DCGI has explained it very seamlessly that government just want all the manufacturers to affix a QR code on the product, so the regulator can identify the source of the material. See, today, if the challenge in pharma is, counterfeiting drugs, the duplication of the drug. You know, I am into
Yeah.
industry for more than 20 years. The API is being sold in market, multiple fold. People are changing the, labels, and it is so difficult to trace the origin of the drug. As a company, as a pharma fraternity, I really appreciate this move of government, which is really going to help industry to safeguard our products, because I don't want a counterfeit Cipla medicine, going into market. This will really help. What I understood from the DCGI and the uh, outcome of that meeting, that government is targeting for 100% security or to eliminate the counterfeiting drug, which will
Sir, we are missing you somewhere. Some seems some signal issues.
sorry, there was a
Yeah.
small leg I thing. So I'm saying this will going to help the formulator who buying API from within the India or outside India for the end user, and it will great to have on the all APIs. This is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think, yeah, please go ahead, Bhupendraji.
Ugrasenji, that is, I believe, is for API only, not for the formulated product.
Yes, Bhupendraji. This is specifically for API.
Absolutely, yeah.
In the first phase, it will be for API. So first phase, they are going to ask for a barcode. In second
Yeah.
phase, they will ask to upload this data on government website. So the barcode and data can be correlated on scan of the barcode. And then probably this will extend to the other category of pharma products.
They have decided some 14 digit of number, and I think they have selected some 300 products as well, categorically.
Yes, yes, yes. So this will go phase by phase. But what I believe, and you will agree with me, this will going to help pharma industry and the end user of the medicine.
Absolutely,
In
perfectly. Because the right drug will reach to the right person.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, Gursenji. I think it's a welcome move, and I'm sure it is going to bring more transparency in the system. Moving on quickly, I would like to go back to Mr. Bhupendra to understand the importance of standardization and compliance in pharmaceutical supply chain. So, as you, sir, rightly understand that this pharma is a highly regulated industry which need more and more the compliance and standardization to be followed during the entire pharma supply chain. So quickly, sir, your views on the same. Sir, you are on mute, Bhupendra ji.
Sorry. Like we were just discussing about this barcode movement, and it is really appreciable and welcome move. And as we are seeing that SCM has reached to the boardroom of all the organization. Earlier, supply chain was sitting outside the boardroom, but now we have reached to the boardroom discussion as well. So Ugrasenji and Imtiaz can understand what exactly I am trying to communicate. So organizations have been increasing interest in efficient supply chain management nowadays because they have met extreme competition. This is because of the decreasing the product life cycle and varying the customer demand. As Imtiaz was rightly sharing that the customer behavior is changing. They need everything on the doorstep at the right time, and the traceability is more important. Whether my cargo is coming at 4 p.m., why it is reaching at 5 p.m. So that kind of traceability, the customer behavior is changing, and they are highly demanding. So as far as standardization in practices in pharmaceuticals, yes, this is true. It is highly compliant, regulated industry, and there are many GMP, good manufacturing practice, good distribution, dispatch practices are already in place, and we need to follow them, and these are really very helpful to entire value chain. And the pharmaceutical industry has become increasingly competitive in recent year. Actually, it has seen the rise of the competitive in, what I would like to mention here is that it has rise of fake drugs, strict quality regulation, sequential mandates. These are the necessities that supply chain in the pharmaceutical to be robust and traceable. So in that manner, I would like to make 2 points here, that we should go for the connect and collaborative using the business network. As everybody is talking about digitization in supply chain, especially digitization in pharma supply chain, because current model or the old model, we talk about point to point connection, but that is not the case now. A digital business network in the foundation of multi enterprises supply chain is very, very important nowadays. I'll give you an example for this. During this pandemic, my factory were started in 7 days time, because we got the permission from the government to start our factory. But my supplier, who was the packing material supplier, we have run the show for 7 days, but packing material suppliers factory were closed. So I was not having the visibility of my packing material supplier, but because it was just in time delivery, because we were having all our packing material supplier within 350 kilometers range only. So once we got to know that the packing material is going to be empty in 2 days, 3 days time, we approached them. They said we are closed because we don't have the permission, because we doesn't comes under essential commodity manufacturer. Then we have approached their SDM through our SDM based out in close to our factory. They have approached on the basis of our factory opening permission. So then their factory were allowed to open. So visibility has become a very, very important nowadays. Traceability has become not only your supplier, it's to your supplier place. So end-to-end traceability is very, very important. I would like to put two more aspects into this. I will not take much time as we are already running short of time, as Prakash mentioned. Respond quickly to the demand changes and get a complete inventory visibility. Whether the inventory is lying at your place or your logistic provider's place or your supplier's place, you need to have a complete visibility with the good shipping practices, apart from GMP and GDP. That's my take on this.
Thank you, Bhupendraji. I think you rightly mentioned that GDP and GMP are the two main things that entire pharma companies has to mainly for manufacturing practices. You have to follow the good manufacturing practice. At the same time, for distribution, the good distribution practices also has to be followed. And with that, I just wanted to say that yes, you are absolutely right. It also be pharma supplier also ensure that if their goods are lying at airports or at the freight forwarders warehouse, they should be intact and in a GDP compliant area only. And with that, Gina, like I would to say that we now the 100% GDP compliant company, and because it's the necessity, the quality and compliance is the necessity of the pharmaceutical, and we take the quality on our priority. So with that, thank you for highlighting about the the importance of the compliance and standardization. I would like to go with to Mr. Imtiaz to quickly understand his views. Like one of the particular segment in entire pharma supply chain, which is being missed during big conferences and webinars and all. That is the clinical trial supply chain and clinical lab supply chain, which plays a critical role in entire drug manufacturing process. Any new drugs coming to market, it has to go through a lot more rigorous basic research, animal testing, then clinical trial in multiple phases, phase 1, 2, 3, 4. The quantity of shipments the are less, but the kind of criticalness that the supply chain validated supply chain need to have in place to conduct the clinical trials is very important. So I would like to understand from Imtiaz, and this sector has got very badly affected during COVID-19 also. So Imtiaz, quickly, considering the time paucity, can you brief us quickly to our viewers that how this was got disrupted, and what are the lessons that have been learned which can be implemented by our viewers and the colleagues across the industries to ensure the continuity of clinical trial supplies during such times. Over to you, Imtiaz.
All right. So, Prakash, this COVID-19, whatever experience we had, I mean, like a lockdown was declared, and all of a sudden, I mean, like many people actually, many stakeholders, without actually looking into the consequences of it, actually took some decisions which were not in favor of clinical trial supply chain. I mean, like in clinical trials, the subjects are basically based sort of tier three or tier four towns, and the stakeholders involved in the supply chain from in this town abruptly stop their services without analyzing or understanding the consequences of it. I mean, like the study was being continued, there was a disruption, and the services were stopped without understanding the consequences. I mean, like the whole cycle has to run again. The whole cycle has to run again. So in supply chain, while I talk about supply chain being the logistics supply chain being a very important part, important stakeholders in this complete clinical trial studies, this operators operating from tier 3 tier 4 cities needs quite an upgradation in the understanding about all this medical supply chain, need more understanding about the infra to be maintained at their end, and also need more understanding and upgradation as to what are they handling. They just term this as a general cargo, which should not happen. I mean, like it will only happen when we engage them more and more into trades, conferences, and when we give them more awareness about such clinical supply chains. Only then we will have seamless supply chain in clinical trial.
Thank you, Imtiazji. It was very informative, and I'm sure it is going to help our viewers for sure. Now, I would like to go to Ramesh sir to understand, Ramesh, like what are your strategies or key initiatives that you are going to take to motivate pharma manufacturer to ship their cargo more and more by uh, air? And because due to cost and so many issues, infrastructure issues and cold chain, when pharma supplier want to ship their big shipment to across the globe, they would like to go, prefer, though if there is no time urgency, they would like to go to the sea mode because of the container, reefer container availability. Even at the same time, when they ship it by air, it become very expensive because air freight itself is expensive. There are airport charges, and there are so many things that they have to use devices like gel packing, passive packaging, or active packaging, and at the same time, even sometimes they have to almost 10 time or price that they have to pay for moving the cold chain consignment by the air. So how we can, at the same time, sir, if you can also brief a little, quickly that now new medicines are coming in. 2 to 8 and 15 to 25. Most of the airports, these big airports are equipped. But now we see the new trend in medicines which require -20 and lower than temperature this. And we do not have most of the airports. We do not have this facility of -20 storage, and shipments get the excursion happened at the time of the storage during custom clearance. So how you can what are your views that which can further motivate these pharma suppliers and manufacturers? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Prakash. Since we're also running out of time, very quickly, one good thing that possibly started happening in the recent past is about stabilization of the air freight rates. Although I'm not from the airline industry at this stage, I'm more from the airport industry that I'm involved in at this stage. But then the $10-15 that Bhupendra was referring to, I think those times have gone. And then by and large, we see the air freight rates globally, obviously also out of India as well, they're kind of coming down, stabilizing, settling to the very, very regular normal levels, which is a good sign. So that is kind of motivating to me because I can see more cargo passing through the airports, and the same would apply to the pharma-related exports as well. So that is something that happening across all the airports. I think I go back to what I said in the beginning. One, maybe 10 years ago, we did not understand what the pharma industry needed from the airports. Nobody saw that kind of a growth coming in the airports as well. No, I think it's a very mature product. Airports very, very deeply understand what the industry needs in terms of infrastructure, integration of the processes, information technology, also integrating with the systems of the freight forwarders and manufacturing companies. I think there is a lot of awareness which is already there in the industry. And for example, 2 to 8, 15 to 25, sub-zero, depending on which airport you're operating from, what that airport is exporting from that city. If that city or the airport needs 15 to 25, most of the airports, that I cannot name any of them, but most of the airports and the cargo terminals operating out of those airports have the sub-zero as well. So I think what the air cargo industry or the airport cargo industry has to offer to the fraternity of the pharma supply chain is that most of the airports are investing. Either they already have, some airports have very mature infrastructure, but if they don't have, what I'm seeing in these airports is some of them include our airports, Adani airports as well. The airports are investing substantial amount of money in building dedicated pharma logistics centers. And these centers, as I come across, have multiple temperature zones right from the acceptance dock until loading into the aircraft. So which means the airports are also investing money in rolling out the cargo, the cool dollies. Again, the cool dollies are very, very, very modern, very capable at this stage, and they can actually give you even sub-zero transportation capability. And some airports, some of them include our airports as well. So we also recognize the need for active and passive container stocking at the airports. So the airports have signed contracts with the likes of Envirotainer to open stocking centers. Some airports, I'm not taking the names of any airports at all. So some of them that are new, that want to build the logistics centers, formal logistics centers, are also tying up with such manufacturing companies. So right from the shipper, if he brings in the shipment in a container, which is what it should be, Even if he wants to lease a container from the airport, you will have enough number of containers in the vicinity of the airport itself. You can actually start the lease from the airport itself. And the airport cargo terminals will have the capability to accept those shipments, uh, the right temperature zone, and then process them, screen them, store them temporarily, build that cargo inside the terminal, or load the cargo inside the terminal, and take the cargo in the same temperature zone from the terminal to the aircraft. I think that capability is gradually being built. My guess is 1, 2 years down the line, most of the airports that have the pharma export potential will possibly see and experience that kind of an infrastructure. So that is what I have to tell them. That is very encouraging. While I say that, I also need some support from you. Over the last couple of years, when I was managing my previous airport, I saw that some of these pharma shipments, 15 to 25, used to come in normal trucks meant for exports to Africa, just because possibly some of these African countries don't monitor carefully. So they would come and say, accept it in the general cargo terminal because we don't want to pay special cargo handling. And we would resist, and they would possibly go to another airport or another cargo terminal, or they would say, we'll give you indemnity. What is your problem? Accept it in the general cargo terminal. Well, I think sometimes we used to refuse, sometimes we had no option because the airline would also fall in that trap. My request to the supply chain experts in the pharma industry is we need to start disciplining the industry. If it needs to be handled in the pharma logistics center, that is what it is meant for. The airport has invested money. It created infrastructure for correct handling of those shipments. I think we need to encourage and make sure people actually process the shipments through that. Because when it is processed through the pharma logistics center, it has many advantages. All of us touched on that. There's better control, there's better integrity, there's more traceability and trackability of those shipments. So that is one request I have for the trade, that where it is meant to be handled is where it should be handled. And there, all of us need to work together to ensure it is handled that way. And it's at the end of the day, reputation of the country as well, not just one company or one airport. I think all of us share the common responsibility to ensure that we handle every shipment professionally. And from my side, I think airports are falling in place. Many airlines are already in place, and many of those that don't have the capability, they're developing it. So in a year, 2 years down the line, I see the entire air transportation supply chain across the country in many airports, including in the airline community, will have the capability, and it is looking very, very good for me.
Thank you very much, Rameshji. Yeah, Upemendraji, please go ahead.
Since Rameshji has mentioned about the dignity of the country and everything, I think the Gati Shakti is the plan which is already in place, and government is taking a lot of initiatives to develop all these infrastructure. And one positive aspect from the manufacturer side I would like to mention here is that whenever the supply chain market fluctuates or the logistic market fluctuates, the transportation from air cargo typically follow the same pattern, if I'm not
Hmm.
wrong. Right, during the challenging times, the air cargo industry has always rebounded, and it
Correct.
has proven resilient to major setback in the past. And we have recently seen the same has continued even the face of recent disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We all have seen that passenger aircrafts were taking our life-saving drugs from X place to the Y place, whether it was domestic or the international.
That is
So
true.
it's not like that we don't have anything. Yes, we have a lot of things in place, and we need a lot of improvement.
Sure.
Improvements, yes.
I
So as
agree.
all the stakeholders, we can come together, and definitely these kind of sessions are required to be on the same platform, to understand each other's issue and address them. So I would say our discussion is going so well, and I really wish that we continue this for more time. But my logistic insider team is telling me about the time check. Considering the paucity of the time, I really, it was an absolute pleasure moderating this session. I would like to thank my esteemed panel colleagues for their wonderful insight on this topic, and I'm sure that it has benefited and to all our viewers in a big way. And last but not the least, my Logistic Insider colleagues for all their wonderful support and organizing this session so well. And I'm really hoping that, as Ramesh sir has mentioned, that we should have more and more such interaction in future. So we understand each other's pain point. We understand where we are going, and how we can take this forward, and how we can bridge those gaps that which we have done good works over the years. With that, I would like to once again thanks to all our viewers and would like to hand over the session to Rachita for Q&A session. So over to you, Rachita. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
to
you
the
so much.
nice moderation, Prakash.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was an intriguing session and indeed a productive and constructive one. And I'm sure it covered, a variety of relevant points for those who are listening to us today. So, since we have already overshot the time limit, we'll be taking only one question as of now. The question is from Pramod Kelkar, and he's asking how far blockchain is a reality in India, and I'm supposing it's in context of the pharma supply chains. Bhupendra sir, you would like to take it
Uh,
up?
As
Right.
far as blockchain is concerned, yes, it will take time to be on place everywhere. But yes, we are doing some of the shipments to Egypt, as Egypt has made it mandatory that whatever shipment moved to the Egypt has to be routed through. All the paperwork has to be routed through blockchain, and really, it is a great learning. And we are doing all the Egypt shipment through the blockchain. It's a very smooth and nice transactional tool. That is only my views on this. This is the practical experience which I'm sharing with you.
Hmm.
Very good.
Prakash, would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, in terms of distillation, I would request, since I know on the panel, Mr. Okrushan, I deal with him on a regular basis, and he's one of the expert. So I would request Okrushan if you can throw some light on this aspect.
I agree with Mr. Bhupendra that this is the future of supply chain. Though we have other instrument available in market, but blockchain will be a game changer. But considering our price competitive market and supply chain, there are other options also available in market, which I really appreciate if people can look into. Thank you.
There are
Thank you.
new devices are available like sensor, sense aware, and there are a lot more IoT, blockchain, artificial intelligence based devices are available in the market where you can log in at your system and you can see where is your shipment when it is on the surface. You can see even the live temperature of your shipment, and the blockchain process will actually will keep building the updates on about your entire consignment and keep giving you the feedback. So you can now the visibility is way beyond what we used to face problem end-to-end visibility in supply chains. You can monitor now the temperature, you can monitor the humidity, you can monitor before airlines tell you that your shipment got misrouted or it got offloaded. You would come to know that your shipments got offloaded at airport, and you can approach to your freight forwarder and go back to the airlines and understand. So before anything you can take the before even temperature go out of range, it gives you a certain alert that it is going towards increasing side. So you take the corrective measure before it goes out of range. Even nowadays some smart packagings are available which will give you alerts. So there are a lot more in terms of technological advancement is happening when we talk about the pharmaceutical supply chain. Yeah.
Right.
Sir, you would
Thank
like
you.
to see some more thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Please
very,
go ahead.
very quickly, very quickly. No, blockchain is obviously an enormously large subject, and obviously there are understandings and misunderstandings about the topic. In fact, what information Vedra shared, I was not aware. I'm very happy that at least one country has made it mandatory, and they're progressing it. That's a very, very large subject with a huge amount of application capability, which I think we cannot discuss it. Maybe for logistics insider, it may be a topic that you can take up to organize one more meeting, wherein we can actually come and research a bit on our own, come back and share the findings. I want to comment on what Prakash was talking about IoT. Now, some of the initiatives, Prakash, that you refer to were tried in some airports, both
Yes.
in the past as well as in the current airports that we are looking at. The challenge is which again, I'm sharing here because some of us need to, as a community, we need to think about it and see how we can solve it. Some capability is there, hardware is available, and most of the systems that are running in the airports and cargo terminals have the capability to integrate the IoT technology, like the chips, etc., that you've talked about, with the system that they're running. The capability is already there. Where actually people hesitate is a legal responsibility. For example, I have the information to share with you. I don't mind sharing it with you because tomorrow, if you would like to use that information against me and slap me with a multi-dollar, multi-million dollar sword, where will I go? So that is actually a big hesitation people have in terms of sharing information with you. They don't mind sharing it with you if it has no legal implication for them because there are limitations in terms of the legal responsibility. No, that is what is actually holding people back in terms of sharing information freely with the trade or freely with the customers. Something that we need to go back and think about.
Right, well said, sir.
Well said.
Right. Okay, so we'll conclude here. And I am no expert, but from what I understood by listening to the session, undoubtedly the pharma logistics industry made consolidated efforts to sail through and stay afloat during tough times, and on the back of exponential attention and the support they received in the wake of the pandemic. Having said that, it is definitely important to retain our learnings and best practices from the last couple of years in terms of end to end cold chain infrastructure, tech integration, etc., to make sure that we only go north from here. So, with this, I'd like to conclude the show and thank all our speakers for taking out time and joining us today. And also, thank you to all of you watching us today. You have been a lovely audience. We'll take a leave now. Thank you. Bye bye. Good evening.
Bye bye,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
everyone.
Good
Thank you,
evening.
guys.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Rachita,
Thank
thank you
you.
everyone. Nice being part of this speaking.
Nice.
Thank you.